So good morning and welcome everybody to okay, this is not a groundbreaking. This is a start of construction celebration. In case we just started yesterday. If you haven't walked over there, walk over there. It's amazing. We poured everything last night, got it ready to start. And I think we're actually no, we do have shovels. Um, so you don't get out of that if you're here for the photo. But somebody was suggesting we might be better off in the Caterpillar for our photos. So maybe we'll make a switch. Good morning. My name is Ed Holder. I'm Vice President of Real Estate Development for Mercy Housing California. I want to start by first welcoming you to this. We're getting some sun. It's a beautiful morning. I enjoy these events, whether you call it a groundbreaking or a start of construction celebration, because you get a chance to see the before. And this is, for me, is kind of a little bit, if you've got dedications and celebrations of construction start, this is kind of the Golden Globes of events. You get a chance to thank everybody when we're here in about a year or 15 months for our dedication. It'll really be about our residents and the power of change. But this is a moment to say thank you to everybody. So we've got a long list, and if you've got somebody to shout out to and you're speaking, take the moment. This is the Golden Globes of events here. I want to start first by acknowledging and thanking the Patriot Guard Riders of Northern California, who have come, I think, along with the American Legion to as our flag bearers and to support the effort here. I know they do this throughout the area and throughout the state, and we're grateful for their support and presence. So when as I was saying to a few folks before the start, 4 years ago I was out at this property, and I don't see Les McDonald. If Les is here, wave, but I don't see Les. Les is with the Archdiocese of San Francisco, and we were looking at this site for the first time. I was looking at it with the potential for some type of supportive housing. We weren't sure exactly what it would be at that point. And he got out here and like, okay, it's triangular. So that's interesting. You don't always get the most efficient design out of triangular, but what we see now is that's going to be a heck of a lot of creative open space, right? So you turn that into something that's a real asset. Historic 100-year-old pump station, right? Okay, we can fix that. We can preserve that. So now you've got an amenity that literally anchors the building, and it could probably withstand. I understand it didn't shake when Bart was doing work over here. So this is as solid a building as you're ever going to see. I don't know that we could even take it down if we actually went to. It's incredible, but we don't want to. It's beautiful, and if you can't really go in today, I wouldn't encourage that necessarily unless you got your hard hat on. But if you want to get a peek, you'll kind of see the before there, and this is going to be a tremendous asset for the community. And then, of course, we're next to a cemetery, so it's going to be quiet, and so we've got it wasn't one of these sites where you go, immediately like hear all the things that are obvious and are going to work. It required a thought. And we've got a great architect that Van Meter Williams Pollock, who helped us really design this and get the most out of it. And this is just going to be a tremendously designed and wonderfully effective community. And a lot of it comes from those things that at first blush might not be the obvious like winning solutions. Triangular site, pump station, and that we've turned those into real assets. But it wouldn't happen without the input and support of many of you who are here today. The town of Colma has been a tremendous partner throughout, and we'll have a chance to acknowledge all of those who have participated in making this what it will be. And what it will be 66 apartments for formerly homeless veterans. It will be 100% for veterans. It will provide on-site case management. Our partner, Brilliant Corners, who you will hear from a little bit later, and the VA will be providing wraparound services that are really going to allow those who will live here to stabilize, get back on their feet, and pick up where things might have been gone a different direction were it not for this housing. We have a community similar to this that's been operating for 4 years in Southern California in El Monte, and I will say it's the community that I personally spend the most time in. I've seen the impact that it has on the residents there. I've played ping pong. I've worked out in the garden and talked with the veterans. I've seen the ownership and pride that they take. I've seen the transformation. So it's great for me to see this at the beginning because I know what's on the other side, and it's very powerful. I will note too that a little bit of a plug here, but Mercy Housing has been one of the statewide leaders in the production of service-enriched housing for our veterans. We have 3 under construction right now. We've completed 2. We have 1 more that will hopefully start in early 2019. And have built, or will be building 300 apartments for homeless veterans and families across the state. And it takes, it takes communities saying yes. One of the things and in the town of Colma, we have a community that was really willing to embrace and support this. But it's not always like that. And when it is, and you've got BART that's willing to stand behind it, the town of Colma and the county that are really willing to invest not just resources but reputation to stand behind this, it really makes a difference. So it's great to have partners like that. It's not often that one community of ours will increase the population of a town by 5%. So we have that here, but I will say this 5% increase is going to be among the most impactful that I think the town of Colma will ever approve. So with that, I want to introduce our Vice Mayor for the town of Colma, Joanne Del Rosario, to offer a few opening remarks as well.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ed. On behalf of the town of Colma and our mayor, Ray Gonzalez, who really wanted to be here today, but she tried as much as possible to make changes to her previous commitment, but was unable to do so. We want to welcome you to the Mercy Housing Veterans Village groundbreaking or start of construction event. And we can't tell you how excited we are for this day and the beginning of this project. We applaud Mercy Housing for their professionalism and bringing their extensive experience into the development of this project. We appreciate the community meetings that they hosted prior to designing the project, for taking input, answering questions, and listening to concerns. This project satisfies the town's obligation to provide affordable housing in the region, and we are pleased to be welcoming the veterans who have served our country into our community. I am a mother of a veteran, and my daughter-in-law is a nurse at the Veterans Hospital in Livermore. So I feel very much close to this project and to the veterans. And to all the veterans here today, I'd like to thank you for your service. Another reason why we are excited about this project is that it represents a $42 million investment on Mission Road. Coupled with public improvements planned by the town in 2019, we hope that this will act as a catalyst for additional private property investments in the future. I would like to share a special note about the project. It is my understanding that the average time frame to secure funding and approvals for this type of project is usually 6 to 7 years. This was done in 3 years with a lot of effort and teamwork between the town, Mercy Housing, and the San Mateo County Department of Housing. We applaud Mercy Housing and Brana Construction for including veteran-owned businesses in the construction of this project. We understand that the project will be the first in Northern California to have 8% of the construction work done by veteran-owned businesses, exceeding the 5% target set by the developer. We hope that the construction moves along safely and smoothly. In closing, I would like to thank Mercy Housing and the entire town staff of Colma for organizing this event. We look forward to coming back for the ribbon cutting in 2019 and welcoming new residents to our town. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So one of the most critical funding sources to this over the long haul is not in the capital, in the up front. It's in the operations. And so there are two programs or two operating subsidies that are integral into this. One is called VASH, Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing Vouchers, and the other is Project-Based Section 8, both federal programs without which we could not do this project. Not only do they provide rental income that supports a mortgage that actually does help the capital financing, but they provide resident funding for resident services, which is so critical to this. So with that federal context in mind, I want to invite Brian Perkins, District Director for Congresswoman Jackie Spear.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Brian Perkins, and I am the District Director for Congresswoman Spear. She's unable to be here today because of her duties in Washington, but she wanted me to thank Mercy Housing and the town of Colma and San Mateo County for all of their hard work on this project. We're looking at this project as a housing project, but I think we lose track of the human dimension sometimes. Let me tell you just one story to illustrate the point from our own caseload, because I have one person who solely works with veterans throughout the week. And in one instance, there was a veteran who called our office. He had been homeless for a decade, and he was living under a bridge here in San Mateo County that entire decade. And by the time we got through with his case, the VA had totally botched the case. By the time we got through with it, he was owed $100,000. And he got that check, and what's the first thing that he did other than get it to a bank account that he got actually get stuff? He got himself a house, right? An actual apartment, really. But it didn't end there. He was able to move around and he was able to enjoy his life. But it isn't necessarily the great story that it may sound like at the moment, because in the end, the health problems that he developed from being exposed for 10 years shortened his life, and probably by about 20 years. And those of you that are in this area of providing housing to people know that that's one of the tragedies. So when we're talking about a building, we have to remember the human beings who are now going to be here, who in some cases will come from living under a bridge, and who will live here and have the first security, the first shower that they've had maybe in a decade. And this is a monument, not just to this celebration, if you will, is not about a building. It's really about us as a community recognizing the humanity of people who have gone the extra mile for our nation, and now we're going to try and go the extra mile for them. On behalf of Congresswoman Jackie Spear, I want to present to Mercy Housing, and could I bring Sister over here, since I've already dealt with Sister Amy for so many years already. This is a certificate which we have to give out, you know that, because she's received them in other contexts all the time. It's kind of required, you know, like rosary beads as sermon. This is from Congresswoman Spear in recognition of Mercy Housing. Upon the occasion of the dedication of an affordable housing development in Colma for veterans, when our nation called our citizens to service, they responded. When our nation called on behalf of our veterans, Mercy Housing responded. Thank you for this commitment to our nation's security and to the peace of mind of all who will be residents in this new development. Jackie Spear, Congresswoman.
Thank you, Brian. Next, I want to invite up the board president for BART, Mr. Robert Rayburn. And I had a chance, to come over here from South San Francisco, and the proximity and support of BART for developing around their stations and encouraging transit-oriented development is surpassed by none. So with that, Robert.
Well, good morning. Thank you, everyone, for being out here on this glorious day, and it really is a glorious day. I'd like to start by thanking some of the people who are supporting the Colma Veterans Village. The city of Colma really deserves a lot of credit for pushing through a project. And BART serves 4 counties right now, soon to be 5, and we run into roadblocks all the time to try to get housing built in our communities. And there's a major discussion going on at the state level on how to house the populations in need. So Colma, Vice Mayor Joanne Del Rosario, and the Rachel Gonzalez, the mayor, you deserve tremendous credit for working with Mercy Housing, Ed Holder, holding the course on this. This is actually the second groundbreaking in the past 2 months that I've had the honor of being at that will provide supportive services for veterans. Fruitvale Village, which really started the transit-oriented developments in the early 2000s. Well, we finished the phase 1 back in 2004, and it took until just last month to begin phase 2. So it is imperative that we work hard to build this housing. Affordable housing is a rare commodity these days, and homelessness, particularly homelessness for veterans, is becoming epidemic. My dear father was a retired non-commissioned officer in the Air Force. He would be proud to know that the veterans are going to have a place to live. This will not only provide a place to live, but it will provide a community. He referred to the people he sat around the table with every day the last few years of his life as his country club. I hope to create that country club atmosphere, and I believe that this clubhouse next to us, repurposing a structure that was formerly a pump house, will provide for that community. As a BART director, as the board president, I represent South San Francisco Station, Colma, and I am the go-to person on these matters. And I'll be there for you if you need any help with negotiating around our folks we have a BART train running right underneath our feet. This project location forges neighborly communications between the community and BART. It's a 5-minute walk to the South San Francisco BART station. I'm proud of that station. It's a beautiful facility. I also want to note that recently the BART board adopted a very bold transit-oriented development policy. Our goal is 20,000 units throughout the system, with 35% of those units being affordable. The idea is to create housing on our property that serves as a catalyst for further development in the surrounding area. It's the only way that we're going to actually be able to house the 2 million people that we expect to be living in the Bay Area with us, rubbing shoulders by the year 2040. Colma Veterans Village represents the desired outcome from that policy. And so, again, I want to thank Mercy Housing, the city of Colma, all the veterans who've come out here today to help promote this project so that we can see many more projects like this near transit stations. Because what is the most efficient electric vehicle in the state of California? It's a 10-car BART train. Thank you very much.
And in case you're wondering, that is Robert's bike in the back, and I can verify that he did BART and then bike over here, so he's practicing. We're moving a little bit into the money section here, and this doesn't happen without strong financial partnerships, none of which is stronger than the county of San Mateo. both in the upfront capital. I think $4.5 million was committed to this project from the county, and in the award of those vouchers. So the vouchers are federal in nature, but they are allocated and distributed through the county. So I want to invite up Doug Frederick from the county.
Good morning. We at the county are very pleased that this project is finally underway. As Ed said earlier, Michael came into our offices 4 years ago, I think, and said, we've got this piece of property, and we looked at his plans and said, okay, this should be interesting. We're very glad to see it made its way through all the various renditions of what it would look like, and finally to be underway. Before I get into some numbers I want to relate to y'all, I want to introduce some of our housing staff that's here. Cindy Chan is with the Housing Authority, Manager of Client Services. Ray Hodges back here is Supervisor of the Affordable Housing Fund. And Rose Kay disappeared. Oh, there she is. She manages the federal funds that we get from HUD for the Community Development Block Grant and the Home Investment Partnership. And Francisco Gomez here has worked with Michael in closing the financing on this project and works with him to pay the bills. We're really thrilled in the Housing Department that the Board of Supervisors has made the kind of commitment that they have over the past few years toward affordable housing development. And I want to share a few numbers with you just to kind of reinforce that impact that they've had. Prior to 2013, the Housing Department for housing development only had about $4 or $5 million a year through CDBG and Home to help impact housing development. In 2013, the board dedicated $13 million of money that came from redevelopment agencies to the county when the state eliminated redevelopment agencies. And they rededicated that money back to affordable housing development and reinforcement of some shelter activities. So that year we put $10 million into housing development. Over the last 5 years, and including coming up this next year, the board has dedicated $83 million of local funding to affordable housing development and some housing preservation activities that we've taken part in. And that is added to $13 million that we've got from federal funds. So we've put $96 million into housing development and preservation over the last 6 years. And we think the board is just going above and beyond anything that we've seen in other communities in supporting affordable housing development. And just to bore you with a few more numbers here, in the last 6 years, we've completed 325 new units of affordable housing. We have 173 units currently under construction, 180 units that have been preserved that were at risk of being converted into market rate housing. We have 166 units that are currently in the process of being resyndicated and going through some rehab to keep them in the affordable housing market. And we have 691 units in the pipeline. So altogether, we feel like we're doing a small part to address a really big need. And this Veterans Project, it's our second one that we've completed, or that we have underway in the last 4 years. And another one is in the pipeline, so hopefully we'll have even more impact on the veterans housing situation. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Doug. So in order to fund this, we bring in a lot of sources. The county as a critical one, but there's also another federal program. Some of you may know, some of you may not. It's called the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program. just survived some drama at the end of last year with the potential for tax reform, which created a few more hoops for us to jump through to get this closed and started at the end of the year. But we were able to find a way through that. But the tax credit program is a critical tool to funding affordable housing, permanent supportive housing like this, housing for families, housing for seniors. And it requires very capable and committed investment partners to buy those tax credits and invest in, and partners who really understand what you're doing and how you're developing, how you're going to operate it, because it's not without risk to them. And in NEF, we have a partner who not only knows Mercy very well, but is deeply committed to specifically investing in veterans housing communities. And so I want to invite Todd Fabian up. $15 million, that's what they invested in this.
Good morning, everybody. And I'll be short and sweet, but National Equity Fund, we've been doing homeless veterans projects for over 25 years, and this is our first project in the city of Colma. We are proud to be here, proud to represent the National Equity Fund, but I wouldn't be here without a partner, and my partner is sitting behind me, Silicon Valley Bank. Fiona will talk in a second, but these projects you need a lot of really committed partners. And the one guy in the back there that was probably one of the best quarterbacks, project managers that we've done in a long time, Mike Kaplan, he was able to get this project completed early because of some hoops that Ed was talking about. But again, Ed, we're a proud partner of Mercy Housing, and we will continue to do a lot of Mercy Housing projects.
Todd does get bonus points for brevity. That was efficient. I next want to invite Mark Rasmussen. So continuing the capital theme, as I mentioned at the beginning, we borrow. There's a mortgage on this property, and the originator of that mortgage, the California Community Reinvestment Corporation, is a big supporter of Mercy. They have been partners on a number of our projects that require large loans in order to complete the many layers of funding that you pull together. So Mark.
Good morning, everyone. Mark Rasmussen with CCRC, and very proud to be here to help celebrate with all of you this beautiful construction start to this project. And first, I wanted to say to the veterans that are here today, thank you for your service. We finance a lot of affordable housing projects all over the state of California. That's all we really do. CCRC is a capital provider for affordable housing. And none of these projects are closer to our heart than supportive housing projects, and especially for veterans. So it's a real honor to be here today with all of you. So CCRC is providing the permanent mortgage, much like you have a permanent loan or a home loan on your house or your condo. So we're here for the long haul and provide the long-term financing for this development. It's roughly an $11 million loan, and as Ed said, we do a lot of financing with a lot of projects with Mercy, and easily, they are the elite in California when it comes to supportive housing development. They're in a league of their own. And I will also echo Todd's comments about Michael Kaplan. He was just a wonderful person to work with our team, and my team back in Glendale sings his praises as to how easy it was to work with him and to close this transaction. Just one personal side note, and then I'll get off, is I flew up this morning from Los Angeles, and I flew to SFO and took the BART here and then walked over, and it was actually less time on the plane to the BART to here than it was from driving my house to the airport. And I don't live that far from the airport, so anyway, it's a beautiful location for this project. Thanks, everyone, and congratulations.
And as Todd noted, this doesn't happen without a strong construction lender. The way our financing works, there's a big loan up at up front, the construction source that funds everything that most of what you're seeing here, and then that loan will be taken out with our permanent sources when all is complete and we have residents in and have stabilized operations of the property. So Fiona has been a longtime partner and just a real personal partner to Mercy, and we're grateful that Silicon Valley Bank was able to work with NEF again. They're a great team. So Fiona.
Good morning. On behalf of Silicon Valley Bank. I'm thrilled to be here to celebrate the start of construction for Colma Veterans Village. And I am delighted to say that it's great to be alive in Colma today. As I think about this wonderful project getting underway, located on these hallowed grounds in the City of Souls, I have flashbacks to college graduation when I was gifted a book named Soul of a Citizen, Living with Conviction in Challenging Times by Peter Loeb. And it shares stories of ordinary people doing amazing things to better their world, and in so doing, gaining a sense of connection and purpose greater than themselves. And this is how we change the world. So I'm rereading the book through audiobooks while I'm sitting stuck in Bay Area traffic worsened by the severe affordable housing crisis to remind myself of the power of the ordinary citizen like me or like you to make a difference. And I'm sure this all sounds very matter of fact to all of us here who have played a role in this project, because all of us have souls of a citizen with a desire to make the world a better place, one home at a time. So when complete, when we look at this project, Colma Veterans Village, it will be evidence of real social change that we were all a part of. And it's a sign that we're making progress. There's still so much potential for more to come, and we can't give up. So this appears to be a bit of a rallying cry as we head into Affordable Housing Week in just a few short weeks. And that's going to be a great opportunity for us to engage our community about affordable housing, to correct any misinformation or misperception about affordable housing. So can you clap if you have the soul of a citizen, if you have the conviction for affordable housing, if you have the conviction for more affordable housing for veterans? Can you just sort of clap that out? Awesome. Thank you. In closing, I'm so grateful to Mercy Housing for your vision and commitment to this important project, and for choosing SVB as your important partner in this journey. It was a very intense year-end closing, and we really leaned on each other to get it done. Thank you so much to our public funding partners, specifically HCD and the County of San Mateo, for your critical resources and tremendous effort by your teams that really made this project possible. Thanks to CCRC and NEF for our continued partnership. And thank you to the city and the town of Colma for your leadership and support of affordable housing in your community. Finally, I want to thank all the veterans here in the audience here. Thank you so much for your service to our country, and I look forward to welcoming folks home very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fiona. So once the community is built and the residents are in, that's when the transformation takes place. And it doesn't happen without a really strong service partner. In Brilliant Corners, we have one of, if not the best, partners across the state who's doing it. I see the work that Bill and his team are doing in LA just as well, and they are having an impact beyond what you could believe across the state. And it all started, up here, but it's been great for me personally to see how they have shaped policy and practice in delivery of services. And so we're really grateful to Bill Pickle and his team for joining with us on this. So.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out on such a beautiful day to celebrate this important moment in community development, affordable, supportive housing for veterans who have experienced homelessness. I think we all know that California is in an unprecedented housing crisis, and that crisis is not just a crisis, the lack of affordable housing, but it's particularly a crisis for vulnerable individuals and families. Homelessness is perhaps only the most extreme sign of that crisis. Projects like this combine wonderful community design and building design, deep income targeting, deep affordability, and integrated supportive services. And that combination is going to be necessary in a lot of different models if we're going to meet the needs of people experiencing homelessness and others who are at risk of either homelessness or unnecessary involvement in our criminal justice system, in our healthcare system, in our behavioral health system, and in many cases, living in an institutional setting simply for the lack of community-based services and affordable housing. I'll say just a few words about Brilliant Corners, and Ed was awfully gracious. We were founded under the name West Bay Housing in the mid-2000s by a man named Barry Benda, who is currently our Chief Program Officer. He's standing in the back there, so we'll give a shout out to Barry Benda. And Barry saw a gap in our system. Somehow, the housing world and the supportive service world, in this case for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, were separate and siloed and didn't communicate and coordinate well. And that often meant that you can't provide services if people aren't in stable housing, and the impact of services can't be achieved if there isn't stable housing. So Barry founded West Bay Housing, which later became Brilliant Corners, and we saw ourselves as supportive housers. And what is supportive housing? There are a lot of different definitions, but we think our tagline kind of sums it up in the simplest way. It's where housing and services come together. And you have many fine service agencies working, for example, in places like Skid Row in LA or the Tenderloin community in San Francisco, but they need housing resources to be able to achieve the transformation in people's lives that everybody is hoping for. And so we see our role as facilitating both housing outcomes and the human outcomes that we all want to see. And we're often in a role where our services can help the housing projects get built and get financed. We're today serving over 5,000 of the most vulnerable, extremely low income Californians with our home office in San Francisco and a second major operation in Los Angeles, and some branch offices. And we partner not only with the housing community and wonderful housing providers like Mercy Housing, but also with housing authorities. I see Cindy Chan here. We work closely with Cindy and her colleagues at the Housing Authority. We work with behavioral health departments and public health departments, but also with managed care plans like the health plan of San Mateo County, where we are operating something called the Community Care Settings Program that also creates opportunities for extremely low-income people to transition out of care settings back into the community, in many cases into affordable housing complexes like this one, or like some wonderful properties that MidPenn has developed. We started serving veterans in 2011 in partnership with the VA in San Francisco and the Housing Authority. And we are currently actively serving 175 veterans, all of whom are experiencing homelessness, and in fact, either multiple periods or extended periods of homelessness. And our team works very closely with the VA as well as with an array of housing providers to help the veterans achieve housing stability as well as all of their personal goals and wellness goals. And we're currently, out of the 175 veterans that we are serving, we have proactively secured housing for 169 of those veterans. So we're really excited about the opportunity to continue to partner on the service side, not only with Mercy's own team, but with the VA. I will give a shout out to a couple of our former employees. We work so closely with the VA that many of our staff now work for the VA, including two who are instrumental in informing some of the design and the community gardens plan for this project, Sarah Neiswander and Jasmine Bro, who is working for the VA up in their Reno office now. So that's about all that I will say. I'll just, continuing the theme of sort of rallying our spirits, there's going to be some major affordable housing and supportive housing bond measures coming up this year. We really need the whole community to continue to support affordable and supportive housing to help California move out of this crisis for individuals and families who are living on fixed and low incomes. I'll just close by thanking everybody again, and especially Michael and Ed and everybody from Mercy Housing. Great to see Todd Fabian here from NEF. I've been working with NEF for almost 20 years now. And of course, the city and the county for their support, without which this project would not be possible. So thank you all.
Thanks, Bill. Um, so, continuing the capital theme, we went to service, but we're going to come back to capital for a moment. The state's VHHP program, Veterans Housing Homeless Prevention, is one of those linchpin programs. You're going to hear from one of our residents out in Rancho Cordova, May the Veterans Village, in a few moments. But the VHHP program was created and approved by voters. I think it was around $600 million initially. I will probably be corrected, but we're in this, I think, third or fourth round of this. And it has been one of the most effective sources for housing formerly homeless and disabled veterans. It really, in the way it's structured, it really forces participants to think about the service delivery. And as Bill noted, Mercy has been owning and managing and providing services to supportive housing residents for decades. But the VHHP program itself was designed specifically with a veteran in mind, and have gone to great lengths in how they structure their NOFA and how they go through underwriting, and everything is really about creating the right outcomes. And so with that, I want to invite Sean Johnson up from the state VHHP program. $10 million of capital was invested and awarded in this project to make it work. So, Sean?
Thank you for having me here, Ed, and it's really is an honor to be here among so many accomplished builders and service providers and local community leaders. We at the VHHP program, we've awarded quite a few projects, 55 to date, and as Ed said, we're moving into the fourth round of funding, and so we have the opportunity to see a lot of projects and a lot of plans, and it really is an exciting event when a project like Colma comes around. We have a significant number of projects that are in the LA area and some of the more urban areas. Is really kind of a special thing, as me being a veteran as well, special to see a project in a smaller community come and launch, because we do have significant need in places like Los Angeles, but we do also have veterans that need services here in the smaller communities as well. So thank you again. Just going to talk just about a couple of things real brief here. Joanne actually talked about this a second ago, something that we've heard a lot about the housing here for veterans and the services that will be provided for veterans. One of the things that don't necessarily get the airtime that is a big part of the program is how the construction of the building involves veteran businesses, right? And these are these businesses, and the way that the programming goes, it employs disabled veteran business enterprises, right, which are certified, service-connected veterans who own and operate businesses. And our program asks that that projects include, give subcontracts to at least 5% of the construction cost. And here with the Colma Veterans Village project, they've achieved 9%, which is a significant feat. It's not, there aren't many DVBEs across the state to go around to be able to employ our disabled veterans in a job like this, and to give that work to them is really a special thing, and 9% is a lot of money. So again, we really want to thank you for that. And so many other things to be thankful and grateful for this, and we don't really have a lot of time here, but I do want to all the veterans that are standing around here and are in the crowd, Semper Fi, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sean. Last, I want to invite the most important speaker that we have here today. George Thomas is a resident out at our Mather Veterans Village in Rancho Cordova. He's been there, been living there for 2 years, and our residents, the transformation I spoke of earlier, this is why we build it, and in hopefully about a year's time we'll have a chance to learn and hear and see more. But this is a tremendous opportunity. We're so grateful for George George for coming out here and investing the time to tell us about the impact living in a community like this has made in his life. So thank you, George.
Good morning, everyone. Where do I start? First, for giving thanks to God, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. I thank Mercy Housing because if it had not been for Mercy, I would still be homeless, still be on the streets, dealing with the things that goes on in the streets. I was using drugs, surrounded by drug users, in a dangerous environment, never knowing what 1 minute from the next held, sleeping in my car, just living in fear. A lot of times when you're homeless, you're faced with situations that you have no control over. Even if you do have a place to live, you still have situations that you have no control over. But homelessness, if you've never been homeless, you just really can't understand or know what a homeless person go through. The fears that they have, the lack of food, the lack of necessities, so Mercy Housing gave me a new lease on life. I'm a product of Mercy Housing. Mercy Housing has gave me a roof over my head, safety, a place that I can call home, and I just can't begin to explain to you how much it means to me to be taken off the street, and out of dangerous situations and living a life that no one deserves to live. It's really not a life, it's just existing from one day to the next. But through Mercy Housing, I've been able to get my life together, off drugs, away from drug users, drug dealers, and surrounded by love, beginning to love myself again, beginning to have respect for myself again. Man, it's just so many things that I'm thankful for today. But most of all, you guys see construction going on back here, but I see a place where 66 other veterans are going to be taken off the street. They're going to have a place to call home. They're going to have a place to eat, a roof over their heads. And that means so much after spending time serving your country to have a place like this and a place like the one that I live in. It shows that people do care. Because when you're homeless, you think people don't really understand. They don't care about what's happening to you. They don't have any love for you. But the truth about it is, there is love. And this here is a product of the love that you guys have for us. And we thank you so much for providing a place like this for us. Now, moving into a affordable housing residence, it doesn't take everything. It is not a perfect situation. You still are faced with different circumstances. But the thing about it is that you're willing to work through those circumstances now and not running away from them. And running away from them, you come back and they're not only still there, but they've grown. But now where I live, there's 49 other residents there, and we're working through our issues today. And that's truly a blessing. So again, I give thanks to Mercy Housing and the constituents that help finance the place that I live and help financing this place. I'm just excited about the place that I live in and the other 49 veterans that live there with me, that the veterans that will be moving into here will be able to live their life like I do now, free from drugs, free from the danger of the streets, not knowing what's going to happen the next day. I mean, I still don't know what's going to happen the next day, but I know it could only be better than what today was. So I'm really grateful and thankful, and I thank you all for showing up for this event. Thank you.
Thank you, George. So now we're moving toward the end. We're going to close this with the shout out time. So if I've missed anybody wants to add, when I'm done, lob it in. There's no pride of like authorship or shout out ship here. And if I missed anybody for the Mercy staff, please chime in. Again, this is the Golden Globes mindset, right? This is as informal as we're going to get. So I want to start by acknowledging if there there are other council members for the town of Colma that were missed. You know, Helen Fizencaro was mayor when we started and was tremendous in providing us guidance throughout that. Oh, there's Helen. There's Helen. I've not met Helen yet, but now I'm meeting Helen. Thank you, Helen. John Goodwin. Is John Goodwin, also a council member, been tremendously supportive throughout. Thank you, John. Is Michael Laughlin here? Is Michael and I actually planner for the town of Colma. Michael, if it's okay to say this, Mike, he had worked for Somas. I've been to Somas, right? Down in this in LA, and so I knew Michael through some work he did on, was it Jefferson Park?
Well, lots of projects.
A few number of projects, yeah. Anyway, so when he moved up here, I thought we're in good hands, and we have been. And so Michael helped us navigate planning. Brian Jossi, city manager for town of Colma. Thank you for providing the leadership, and it starts in the city manager's office and with the council. Thank you for giving it that boost. The Colma Historical Society, Pat Hatfield, Maureen O'Connor, Richard and Michael Rochetta, everybody at the Historical Society that helped us. If you're here, please, thank you. Helping us navigate how we can turn the pump building into a community resource. I know there were many other elements that we learned throughout. And I should note, if you haven't seen it in the back, there are some plaques. We have the kind of the template for the plaques that will be here. If you haven't had a chance, please read those. That's what it's going to be. Is Janet Stone here? Okay, no. But Janet Stone was actually one of my first calls back 4 years ago at the county when we were trying to figure out whether this had legs and whether we could get it there. And I know has provided leadership and guidance to countless projects, and her fingerprints are on thousands of units, and we're grateful for her work and support. Cindy Chan has been acknowledged. Thank you, Cindy, for the work at the Housing Authority and with our vouchers. Bruno Peguis, is Bruno here? Hopefully I pronounced. Bruno, of course, I met Bruno at the beginning. Thank you, Bruno, for helping us navigate everything through real estate. You know, we literally have a bar train, underneath us, and it's not. There's a lot of easements and things of that nature that you had to figure out. So thank you, Bruno. From the VA, Gio Son and Joanne Peters are you here? As we noted, doesn't happen without the support from the VA, and once this is built and our case manager is running, the VA is just an integral partner to our work and the transformation that George spoke of. Alan Heikkinen from Branagh Construction. Is Alan here? Alan is up there. Not an easy site. Thank you, Alan. You are seeing. Okay, we didn't start yesterday on this, but this is a tremendous amount of work that has happened in a few short months. I was trying to recollect when I was here, and it had been a while, just the clearing that had to take place, the trees, and there was a reservoir of some type of water tank, and it is a different site already. You can just in the opening of it, you can see what lies ahead, and it's all very exciting. And then for the Mercy Housing team, you've heard Mike Kaplan's name mentioned a few times. I don't know, Mike, if you actually raised your hand, but if you didn't, there's Mike Kaplan. And Mike really did a great job. There's moving these through, not just externally but internally, and kind of navigating how you're going to do it. There's a lot to this, and Mike did it masterfully. Where's Evelyn Perdomo? Also with Mercy Project Assistant. Evelyn's in the back, and she and Mike are a dynamic duo and made it happen. You've met Sister Amy Bailey, who knows Congresswoman Spear from a while back, right? Should I not go there? Okay. But Amy really does leads our front end, kind of the community work and community planning, and is just wonderful at it. Some folks who are not here, so Alvin Tuvala, Samantha Hogue, Mike Leby, Jackie Hoffman, Jim Fleming, Elena Zilberfein. I don't think any of them are here, but they're all our property management team, our resident services team, our asset management. Again, a lot of work to think about how you're going to not just build but sustain over the long haul, and that team is integral to that work. And I want to thank where are Ruth and Monica? Monica, maybe they're in the back. So Ruth, so they are our events team. Actually, Ruth is kind of new in this, but not new. I mean, she's been with Mercy for a while, but I think, is this technically your first event, Ruth? Technically? All right, it's awesome. Thank you, Ruth and Monica, for putting this together. And then I wanted to acknowledge Silicon Valley Bank, who helped with sponsorship for this event as well. I didn't say that initially. Thank you, Fiona. Okay, did I miss anybody? Holy Cross. How about that? How about the cemetery? Where, and I met, yes. Thank you to Holy Cross for being a great neighbor and helping us to sort of learn about the history and help us navigate through as well. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right. Thank you. I mentioned it yes, Rick Williams. I saw Rick somewhere. Rick is in the very back. So Van Meter Williams Pollock is the architect. As I noted at the beginning, this doesn't happen without the design ingenuity that was required to think outside the box, turn space that others might say is, how do you program that triangle into something that will be really productive and feed into the mission we have here. Rick and his team, among, if not the most trusted architects that we work with consistently, and we love the Van Meter team and grateful for all they've done. So thank you, Rick and team. Okay, any last shout outs? All right, unfortunately, as I said, we don't get out of the shovel and the helmet thing, so we are going to do that, I think, over here. So if you can, we'll move over there. Closing thought, a few have noted on this earlier, but I just want to close with it because it is, I guess, where I would like to leave. We all do have a role to play in getting more of this done. And if it means talking to 5 people, if it means tweeting, if that's your thing, whatever it is, we have to get this message out. And when a concept like this comes to your community, we need you to be among the first, if not the first, to say, yes, this is good. I've seen how it works. I know it's important. I know many of you are already doing that, but it's more important than ever with the bond measures that are coming up that Bill Pickle referenced. We're at one of the more hopeful times that in the 12 or so years that I've been at Mercy that I've seen, where there's a lot of the resources seem to be starting to materialize and the will is there to fund it. Now we've got to find the sites for it, right? And find the locations where you can have the communities like Colma that will stand up behind it and the community partners like Bart that will be there with you. So if you take nothing else from this in terms of what you can do, know that you have a tremendous role in your community to help this happen. And if you want to ask us, if you want to approach us, how do we get more of this done? You've got a lot of resources here that you've been able to meet and identify today, and we'd love to talk to you. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you again to our veterans and for their service and for their support. And we look forward to seeing you in hopefully about a year. So thank you.
Do it again. 1, 2, 1, 2.